So maybe what your listeners don't know is that we are a full club. Typically, I think when people think about sports teams, it's the team. This is the NFL, this team. This is the Major League Baseball team. We're a club. We have 6 boys academy teams that start at 12 years old. They all come here every single day and they train with a whole coaching staff. We have a second team called Ventura County Football Club. And then we have a first team. We have a feeder system. We have a high school on campus. We actually educate 14 to 18-year-old boys every single day. So when they come to our campus, they're training alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Chicharito, and then they go to class. So our mission is we're creating really good soccer players, but we're also creating really good men at the same time. Tom Braun. I'm President of Business Operations and Chief Operating Officer of the LA Galaxy, and you're on Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the show. Tom, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
We're in your house today.
Our house.
The winningest team in the MLS, the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, I think we're the most historic, most decorated team in the league.
You got quite a legacy here. I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
Good question. How you get this job is a good question, because I don't think anybody really knows how you get to be in the position that I'm fortunate enough to be in, how you get to become a president of a sports team or a chief operating officer of a sports team. A lot of it is simply hard work, making the right connections and working really hard and trying to be in the right spot at the right time. I started working at an investment bank. I worked at an investment bank for about 6 years during the recession and did not love it. Did not love it at all. And then coincidentally, I met my soon-to-be wife. We were in Washington, D.C. at the time, and she was in law school. And my wife's, then my fiance's, passion was to work in sports. And I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So we were living in Washington, D.C. She got a job as in-house counsel for Fox Sports. Oh, cool. So we packed up my Jeep Wrangler in the middle of winter, drove cross-country, soft top, and ended up in Los Angeles. And I sought to find a new life, a new career. So I went back to business school. I went back to USC and got an MBA, but I chose USC because my wife introduced me to the sports business professor at USC. His name is David Carter. I made it my mission to become his best friend, and after about a couple months of knowing David, he got me this really cool unpaid internship at AEG. I was a vice president at an investment bank. Then I moved into being an unpaid intern at AEG. In fact, I paid $1,500 to USC to allow me to take one credit at USC to allow me to get the internship. I was an unpaid intern for about 6 months. And then I got promoted to a part-time position where they paid me $10 an hour. So kind of stuck it out and, fell in love with the job. And fortunate enough, after about 2 years of being with AG Sports, I got a call from the then president of the LA Galaxy asking me if I wanted to come work full time for the Galaxy. And my hope in my career was that I got to run a business one day. Yeah. And he gave me that opportunity. So I came over to the Galaxy full time, been here for about a decade, worked my way up to the Galaxy.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one of the things that surprised you? I mean, it's been a decade since the Galaxy has been in the MLS Cup, right? What are some of the things that you've learned as president in this last year that surprised you, that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that the audience probably doesn't realize about running a professional sports team or running an MLS team. We oftentimes outpunch our weight class in everything that we do. Often, I think when people think about sports, they think about big NFL brands and lots of people behind the scenes making things work. We got a really strong team here, and I think what we do is very entrepreneurial, and people don't realize that. We're scrappy and we work really hard to get to where we're at. But because we're a team and a brand that is constantly try to keep up with other sports teams, the expectation is that we deliver at the same level with everything that we do. So when fans come here every single game, every single day, their expectation is they're going to be entertained, and our job is to entertain them.
So are you talking about, it sounds like you're kind of alluding to the competition, which is maybe not other football clubs. Are you talking about like other pro sports like NFL and MLB and NBA?
LA is a complicated market. I think
Yeah.
it's a complicated market. Sure, there's two of every sports team, and I would even argue there's more than two soccer teams. We have a really powerful women's soccer team just down the street as well with Angel City. But you're also competing with entertainment. You're competing with the mountains and snow and the beach and
Right.
everything that LA has to offer. Anything that you're looking for, LA has it for you. So our job is to convince you that LA Galaxy is where you want to spend your weekends and the team that you want to follow. And how do you build in that brand affiliation with those fans is important.
Yeah, we were talking off camera a little bit about this, marquee player. I mean, you used to have Beckham here, ages ago, and now Miami has Messi, and but we're talking off camera about how the Galaxy's playing more Moneyball than it is marquee player. Like, talk about that strategy a little bit.
Winning matters. Winning matters in Los Angeles, whether you're winning with big stars or you're winning with stars that fans maybe are less familiar with. We got a really strong team this year, made up of guys that might be early 20s, but they're competing at the highest level. We have a player named Gabriel Peck, who was just recently named Newcomer of the Year. By earning that recognition, essentially you're saying you're the best player that's come into our league this season, and you demonstrated that. But guys like Joseph Paintsel and Ricky Puig, Dejan Jovalic, these guys might not be as recognizable names in the global world like Lionel Messi, but these guys are contributing. What our fans want to see is they want to be entertained.
Yeah.
You come for 90 minutes, you want to know that you're going to be entertained by the 11 guys on the pitch and have a good time doing so.
Yeah. Well, it's good for the league. I mean, maybe a comparison is kind of like what happened with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. Caitlin was good for the game because, it raised the tide for everyone's boats. And, people came out to see her even if she wasn't on that team. But it seems like your strategy is more about delivering wins. I mean, again, your goal is to win games. You want to entertain fans. It's no fun to walk away when your home team loses.
Yeah.
And you've decided on a better strategy, one that's more statistically sound. I mean, hey, let Miami, have the flash in the pan, whatever. But
Yeah, I give Miami a lot of credit. They signed one of the greatest players ever to play, if not the greatest ever to play the game. But I think it's a page in our playbook that we've done in the past.
Yeah.
We signed David Beckham,
Yeah.
right, in 2007, and that really was the launching off point of MLS and signing those big time stars.
yeah,
And
you're right. You guys actually started the model.
we started the model,
Proved the model.
and we followed it up with guys like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Steven Gerrard, Javier Hernandez, Chicharito. These are big global superstars.
Yeah.
And they did great for the league, and they continue to do great for the league. But we take a little bit of a different approach right now, and under our leadership with Will Kuntz and Greg Banny, our head coach and general manager, they've taken a different angle. And these guys have really contributed, and we're winning games because of it.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Talk about like MLS strategy. Let's go like 30,000 feet, and then let's go down to LA Galaxy strategy. So Galaxy strategy seems more Moneyball. You're using statistics and maybe youth, speed, strength, to win games instead of like big names. But from a 30,000 foot standpoint, how has bringing in some of these legacy players or legendary players, in the case of Messi, helped the league? And like, what is the strategy? And the reason I ask that with context is we talk a lot about strategy, what strategy is and what it isn't. Strategy is not your goal. A strategy is more like your approach. It's your thesis, right? Talk about that strategy, you think.
Yeah. So remember, our league is 29 years old. It's 29 years old. It was birthed out of the 1994 World Cup. All right. Part of the business plan for MLS was delivered because we made a guarantee to FIFA that we'd have a domestic league in the U.S. for professional soccer.
Wow, has it only just been since 94?
It's 24. 96 is when our league launched, but the 94 World Cup is what kind of started it all off. After many iterations of professional soccer in the U.S., MLS has done a really good job getting it off the ground and
Yeah.
getting it moving forward. And now you have teams going in the next year. We'll be in our 30th season, and we'll have 30 teams in our league. We'll welcome San Diego into Major League Soccer. In fact, we're kicking off our season next year against San Diego, so they will be playing at Danielle Sports Park in the first game in the history of their organization.
Very cool.
So now you think moving forward, we've had iterations of David Beckham, we've had iterations of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and others, and including Lionel Messi. We're moving into 2026. And 2026 will be, with the World Cup coming to North America, in Canada, US, and Mexico, will be the biggest event in the history of the world. And you think about that, how far our league has come, in which was a promise back in '94, how far it's come to now be in 2026, where teams, if you read the trades, are now valued north of $1 billion. It's impressive how far they've come. But again, as I mentioned before, it's a very entrepreneurial business at the same time. We're hustling to make this happen.
Yeah.
So the strategy for us, I think there's two different ways you can look at the strategy. From the business side, there's the technical side, which the technical side in this capacity is the sporting side. So the soccer operations, general managers, head coaches, players.
Yeah.
On the business side, you have to understand that there's ups and downs, and there will be ups and downs. But how are you building a really solid foundation every single day that it's a strong enough foundation that if the team doesn't win, or the team maybe loses a couple games in a row, that you have delivered to your fans. So that's our goal with the Galaxy. That's our goal with our business team, is that when a fan comes in, they're having an unbelievable experience. And how do you do that? Of course, there's the entertainment on the field. But coming in, we have Soccer Fest, we have DJs. This year, we've had Alesso, we've had Afrojack, we got Dylan Francis playing at our game coming up this weekend. We have really recognizable DJs. So you're getting a show on top of just getting a sporting event. But that's what you have to do in Los Angeles. You have to deliver at the highest level, because that's the expectation that our customers and our fans want.
Yeah, I love that. Let's unpack the strategy a little bit more. So by comparison, has that strategy changed, or has it always been the path? And by the way, 29, 30 years, folks, you think about this. So the league is basically about as old as the internet. And if you think about that, I mean, it's just still a baby. Like, we're just getting started with the internet. I mean, I remember using the internet in 1998, basically. This thing's just getting started.
Mm-hmm. It's just getting started. So we make it a priority, and I think you asked the question, has anything changed in the last couple of years? And I think things have changed in the last year. In fact, we do a very good job listening to our fans now. I think in the past, maybe we could have done a better job. But listening to your fans or listening to your customers has to be a priority. We're so ingrained in everything that we do. Sometimes we think we know. We think we know exactly what the fan wants or what people want to see or feel. But the reality is they also want to tell us. So we do a couple different things. We do surveys. Very often we do surveys.
Yeah.
We also do something called the Fan Council. So we have a Fan Council. It's made up of 17 individuals that are fans. They could be season ticket members. They could be supporters. They could be individual game buyers. But they're going to tell us, and we're listening to that feedback. And then it's our responsibility to actually listen and make change.
What are they saying?
Well, they're saying things like, we opened up a sensory room. People wanted a sensory room. You come to Danielle Sports Park and there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
People want an outlet sometimes because it comes too much.
If you sit next to the drums, yeah, it could be a little much.
It could be much, yeah. And that is one of the best things about soccer. If the viewers or listeners haven't been to a soccer match, our supporter groups are what makes soccer special. We have 4 supporter groups for the LA Galaxy. When you come to the game, there's 2 sections that the 4 supporter groups sit in. They have drums, they have flags, they yell, they stand the entire game, and they bring an energy that you don't see in any other sports league or any other sports team in the U.S.
It is pretty remarkable. You could be at a soccer game and people just, there's constant noise.
Yep.
Whereas, you're right, other venues, you can chill out for a little bit, but not here.
Yeah. You know what's really great about soccer too is you're committing 90 minutes of your life to a soccer match. It's a definitive amount of time. When you're coming in, 90 minutes plus stoppage time, you're out.
Yeah.
You're out. Some other leagues and teams or leagues, you could be there for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, extra innings could put you, you're out at 2 a.m. Yeah. Let's go back to strategy. So you say you're listening to the fans. They say they want sensory room. What else do they want? And by the way, who are the fans?
Who are the fans? It's a lot of people. It's a lot of different types of people. And I think Los Angeles is a melting pot of a lot of types of cultures of people. Soccer is the most relatable sport, I think, in the world for people.
I agree. Are you drawing from, here we are sort of LA proper. I mean, this is Carson, right? Which is just outside the LA city limits. Mm-hmm. We're sort of in the South Bay-ish area, right? Mm-hmm. But do you draw a lot from Orange County? Do you draw more from LA, or is it a combo of both?
We draw from all over. We draw all the way down from San Diego. We draw up north to Thousand Oaks. We draw inland. We have people who come from Arizona every single game just to watch us play. Season ticket members that come from Arizona. Yeah. So it's all sorts of people that will come watch a game.
And what's like the psychographic, like, if you could describe like who's in the crosshairs of who you're trying to attract here to the park?
I think anybody who wants to be entertained, I'd be willing to attract to the park. So I'm a dad. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 1-year-old. Mm-hmm. I'm also a head coach of an AYSO soccer team.
Okay,
and
nice.
It's funny. It's the Galaxy Bobcats.
Nice.
But what I've learned by being a dad of an AYSO soccer team is there are parents out there who want to do really cool activities with their kids. They might not have a passion for soccer, but they want to entertain their kids and they want to do something different with their kids. Mm-hmm. I think there's a huge audience out there for families with kids, young kids who want to be entertained. I think there's a great way to attract those families by bringing them out to a game, experience it. And if we can get families and kids falling in love with our sport, this is ideally where the sport's headed. So growing up, soccer wasn't available. When I was younger, soccer wasn't available to watch on TV. Right. You could not just turn on, for us it's Apple now, but you couldn't just turn on the TV and watch a Premier League game or a Bundesliga game. Yeah. But now it is. It's much more available to kids much, much younger. So how are we going to attract those kids who want to become soccer fans? They're all playing AYSO. They're all playing local club teams. Yep. We need to get them attracted to coming and watching us.
Yeah, I'll co-sign that with you. I'm a dad too, and I brought my kids here, and it's been a great experience, especially for my daughter, who showed the most interest in soccer, and she went on to play club sports, and then went on to D1 scholarship, track and field. But yeah, it is a good experience here. It's a great atmosphere. It's friendly. How's the food?
Food's great.
Yeah?
Food's great. I think friendly is an important thing to mention. That is what we are about here. So we are in Carson, but we have this really great footprint. So Dignity Health Sports Park was originally built to be an Olympic training facility. We have about 10 training soccer fields. We have a main stadium field. We have a tennis court, and we also have a velodrome on campus. This was originally built to be a home of an Olympic training facility. Mm-hmm. When you drive down the driveway, you have the landscaping that's perfectly manicured. We have tailgating. We have fan-friendly things to do on the concourse during the game. We are embracing that is what we are about, is being fan-friendly and being family-friendly.
Yeah. It makes sense. You're also seeding the market. You're the next generation of fans coming up. It makes a ton of sense. So this series is called Behind the Brand. We talk about brands, how to build your brand building. I have kind of a two-part question for you. First, I want to ask your opinion on the definition of what a brand is, and then I want to ask about the LA Galaxy brand. Mm-hmm. So, in your opinion, in your view, how would you describe what a brand is?
It's a good question. I think a brand can be a lot of different things, but I think it's how people resonate with what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to deliver, right? I don't think it's a specific mark. I don't think it's a specific color. I think what it is how do you make me feel? Mm-hmm. How do you make me feel when I see something? It could be anything. It could be any icon you want, but is that making me feel something different than I felt before? Mm-hmm. That would be kind of my definition of a brand.
Yeah, I think that tracks. I've asked probably 500 of the smartest people on the planet that same question, and that is super consistent with what other people have said. If I was going to add anything, I would say that you're absolutely right that your brand is not your logo, has nothing to do with the aesthetic per se, and you're absolutely right when you say it's your brand lives in the hearts and minds of the other people who have touch points and experience your brand. It's a shorthand for what you stand for. It's what people can expect or what they say about you when you're not in the room. And so brand is super important. Some people, they just simply have a logo. They're not distinct. They don't really stand for anything. It's nebulous, Mm-hmm. And so that said, how would you describe the LA Galaxy brand?
Being a brand, being a sports team, you have avidity that exists, right? I think when you're something other than a sports team, when you're a clothing line or an aerospace company, I think it's much more challenging to establish a brand, right? Our brand has to be about the community. we are representation of the community. So how we describe it, it's I want us to be what people think of in giving back to the community. I want us to be LA's team. I want people to care about us deeply in Los Angeles. But we got to go about it differently. We got to do things differently. I think doing the standard sports branding is not something that we're about. We have to get creative because we got to get noticed. We got to get noticed differently.
What is the standard sports branding then?
I think the standard sports branding is you can do some digital paid ads. You can reach out to sports journalists, sports marketing. You can do email marketing. But we have to stand out differently, which is why when I mentioned the DJs, that's something different. That's tapping into a pop culture. That's in a mainstream culture than just somebody who's interested in sports. Yeah. Somebody may or may not be interested in soccer, but someone may not be interested in soccer, but they're interested in Dylan Francis and his DJ work. So maybe we can bring those two together, and maybe we can convince that individual, hey, you might be a Dylan Francis fan, but you also can be an LA Galaxy fan.
Yeah, it makes it a party when you're here.
It makes it's a bigger pond to fish in, right?
Mm-hmm. I love that. Talk to me about, the business of the team. So like, what does your marketing mix look like? So what are some of the other activities you're doing? Mm-hmm. And, you have a fairly new competitor. You have another LA team that's in the vicinity, and then you have a San Diego team creeping up now. How do you remain distinct and differentiate beyond bringing music in? Because they could bring in music too.
Yep.
Then what do you do?
Yep. Well, we're also competing with a $5.5 billion NFL stadium down the street as well, right? And we have to be targeted, I think. So our brand's going to kind of reach a lot of people, right? I think our brand needs to be largely focused on Southern California and Los Angeles. However, our brand speaks internationally just because of the players that we've signed. I think the LA Galaxy as a brand is probably more recognizable than maybe even some what considered to be bigger sports teams in the U.S.
Yeah, I think you have the luxury of being this legacy brand now at this point.
Yep. But we have to be targeted in how we do things. We can't be, an inch deep, a mile wide. We kind of have to be deep in certain spots. So we got to pick our places. So we focus heavily on families. We've mentioned that already. Families is a big target for us, and us being so close to the South Bay here in Los Angeles, we're right in the middle of it, essentially. That's an important part for us. Los Angeles is also very Hispanic and Latino. We need to focus that we're targeting that demographic because they had told us we are interested in soccer. We're interested in that. Our other angle is we're focusing on live event seekers.
Okay, pause right there because I want to ask a little bit deeper on that. So on the, reaching families and reaching the Hispanic market, whatnot, is it all like digital marketing? Are you using Meta? Is it Google? Let's get a little bit deeper on that.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's we do different things. We do a lot of things in Spanish, right? We have to do things bilingual so people that prefer speaking Spanish will do that.
Are these TV spots too, or is it all just digital?
Yeah, we'll do TV spots. We'll do print. We'll do things in both languages. We have previously also done press releases in other outlets in Spanish and English language.
Okay, so you have like a coverage strategy where you want to make sure that all bases are covered.
Yep.
Wherever those people are, you want to be in that same vicinity. Okay.
Yep. And I think if you look at the demographics of our fan base, it skews male, right? I think there's a huge opportunity for us to bring in the female audience. I think they'd be interested in coming and watching us play. It also skews very heavy Hispanic. I'd say over half our audience, maybe even 3/4 is Hispanic. So we have to make sure we're delivering what they're consuming and how they're consuming it.
Yeah, of course. Very smart. So what's the capacity here at the stadium?
So the capacity here is about 27,000. And the reason why that's important, I think on the business side, our major responsibility, we have a motto we go by. It's called Fight for the Fan. And what that really means is we have to deliver at the highest level in our brand and everything that we do to make sure that our fans are at the utmost of everything that we try to accomplish. But why it's important is because I don't set a lineup. I don't score a goal. My job is to make sure that we're putting those guys that are setting lineups and those guys that are scoring goals in the best position to find success. So why do we do that? We have to fill out the building every single game. We have to sell out the stadium every single game, and not just sell out. We don't want a late arriving crowd. We want them in their seats when the game starts or when the match starts, so that our guys know that there's an energy that we're creating and we're influencing games. This season, we're undefeated at home. And for me, that's the most important stat on the business side. You can talk about revenues all day long. You can talk about expenses. For me, that we're undefeated at home right now means that my team and that I myself, we're doing our jobs. And that I'm really proud of. This is also why, in talking about the DJs,
let me congratulate you.
Thanks.
I mean, so we were talking about, you're due. Like it's
we're due.
Last time, right? It's 2014. Am I wrong?
Yeah, 2014.
So I mean, you're heading in the right direction. Congratulations. And 1 year at the helm, that must feel validating. That you feel like, I'm sure it's a team effort, but like you're all rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I think we made huge gains this year. Our team has worked really hard. They're deserving of this.
Yeah.
We put in so much work every single day to make sure that we're in the best position. This is the LA Galaxy. And I do think there's been a time where making the playoffs was enough. Making the playoffs is not enough for the LA Galaxy. Winning championships is what the LA Galaxy is about. That's what we're known for, right? Yeah. So it's good to be back in this position where the team's finding success. But every day you have to reinvent yourself. It's when you become complacent where you try to do things the same every single day, that's when you're going to fall behind. So we have to continue to reinvent ourselves. And that might be a DJ, or that might be some of the new premium spaces that we're doing, or that might be just serving a certain type of food in the concession stand.
Yeah. I mean, you offer tacos early to me. I'm in my seat right away.
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
It's small gains. Everything that we do, we have to look at it with a lens of how are we making improvements every single day. So less popular things to talk about is we put in these contactless mags. So when you walk through security in the past, what you'd have to do is you'd have to take everything out of your pocket. You take it out of your pocket, and then the lines are starting to build up behind you.
Yeah.
You go through the mag, it beeps. You got the embarrassment of it beeping. You're going back. You're taking the stuff that you forgot to take out of your pockets, putting it on the tray. Then you walk through. So what we have now is we have these contactless mags where you walk through and you either get picked up with having something or you don't. Nothing comes out of your pockets, which helps getting people into the building, which allows you then, those individuals might buy a t-shirt. They might buy a hot dog. They might buy something more than they would have bought. And then the other less popular thing to talk about is, in going back to listening to your fans.
Well, hold on one second. I have to compliment you again because I just want to underscore for those watching and listening, if you missed it, what Tom is eloquently explaining here is empathy. And so, in his strategy is this whole idea of fan first, which means you really have to understand the fan, and you really have to have a ton of empathy on a regular basis to understand the fan experience. And so that cannot be understated, how important empathy is. A lot of these, experiences that we're having in other places are not as pleasant, right? And maybe, you're off put and the venue doesn't even know it. Good on you for thinking about fan first. I mean, I think that is a super important key takeaway for anyone who's, got a product or service or building their brand. It's so, so important. I thank you for mentioning it.
I appreciate that. And I think another important point is we do all this work every day. We have a whole staff of full-time employees that are working really hard to make sure that they're delivering the best experience.
How big is your team here, by the way?
So our full-time staff, I'd say, is about 150 people, but we have a lot of part-time staff, which is what I wanted to talk about. Is we work sometimes 7 days a week. But on game days, oftentimes when you work for a sports team, is you hand the keys over to someone who's not a full-time staff member, who might be a part-time staff member. They are now the contact with your fans coming into the building.
Right.
You need to make sure that those individuals who are not here every single day, that they're delivering the best experience with a smile, being resourceful, so that that's what the fans will leave with. They'll leave with, well, how did that person who scanned my ticket talk to me or treat me? And those individuals, they may be very avid fans of the LA Galaxy, or they might not be, right? They might just be, hey, I want a job.
Yeah,
right? I'm working. That's okay. And we need all of that. But you need to make sure you're coaching them up. You need to make sure that you realize that those individuals have just as much impact on the brand as maybe that out-of-home billboard that you put up 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, the customers facing the frontline folks who are in hand-to-hand combat, basically, even the people, doing the security at the front, all of that matters every stage. I like it. What mistakes have you made, Tom? So, and I ask that because a lot of people don't like to talk about the F word, the fail. But I think, the irony is that you really can't have success without making mistakes. That's how we get wiser. we have to go through that learning curve. So what are some of the things that you've learned in this short time in your position that has gotten you to where you are now?
We're not going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect. Our fans want a lot of things that are different. I think if you go to different fans, they're going to want different things. You'll have a fan who wants to win championships and cares deeply about how the team performed. And you'll have another fan who simply just wants to have a good time with their 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So you got to listen to all of them. I'm not sure I'd say we failed specifically anything. I think we misstepped and we probably could have done things differently. But I think the major thing that we haven't done in the past is we haven't done a good job listening to our customers, our fans. And now that's why we're trying to change it. We're trying to change. I think we also, I mentioned it already, we didn't evolve, we didn't grow, we didn't innovate. And because of that, MLS is bringing teams into the league, it seems like almost every year. We went from a league that had 10 teams in the league to a team that has 30 teams in the league.
Yeah.
And
it has exploded.
It's exploded.
Yeah.
And great for the leadership at MLS and how they've helped build this league. But as those teams are coming in, you got new competition, you got new ownership, and you got new leaders of the teams that they're ready to go. Like this is it. This is competitive, and we're all judged at the end of the day by: did you win the championship or did you not? Did you get a star on your crest or did you not?
Yeah,
and that dictates a lot of what we do.
Well, and fans like me too are also looking broader, which is, this is feeding the national team too, and we care about things like the Olympics or these big cup games, tournaments. I'm waiting for the day where I can feel really proud of our national team. The women's team been proud for years, decades. Mm-hmm. The men's team, they're doing fine, but we could do better, right?
Well, we got work to do.
And it starts here, though.
It starts here. So maybe what your listeners don't know is that we are a full club. Typically, I think when people think about sports teams, it's the team. This is the NFL, this team. This is the Major League Baseball team. We're a club. We have 6 boys academy teams that start at 12 years old. They all come here every single day and they train with a whole coaching staff. We have a second team called Ventura County Football Club. And then we have a first team. We have a feeder system. We have a high school on campus. We actually educate 14 to 18-year-old boys every single day. So when they come to our campus, they're training alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Chicharito, and then they go to class. Mm-hmm. So our mission is we're creating really good soccer players, but we're also creating really good men at the same time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's a little bit different than a lot of sports teams. And the hope for us is that we've now created this really successful domestic league. Is how do we make it so we're creating a really helping support the direction of a successful national team? And we've come a long way. We probably still have some work to do, but we're pushing hard. And I think hopefully sooner than later you'll see that.
Mm-hmm. How about advice? You've had this career where you found this path. You started in the mailroom and you worked your way up to be the president. What advice do you have for other people, maybe younger people who are coming out of school thinking about the career path? How did you navigate that?
Yeah, I've had great leadership. Our CEO of AEG has been a great leader, not only to myself, but to probably others at the organization would say the same thing. I had great mentors along the way. I've had a great spouse who's been super supportive of everything I did. A couple of things I would do is you gotta follow your passion. I think that's important. The rest of your life is a long time, right? And you want to do something that you deeply care about, because I've had jobs in the past where I didn't want to drive into work. I've been doing this over a decade. There's not been a single day that I have not wanted to drive into a stadium and work for a professional soccer team. It's a privilege, and it's also a responsibility that I don't take lightly. A couple other things that people have told me in the past is deliver a finished product. I think delivering a finished product is important. And that was a compliment that someone gave to me one time, is that when I delivered a project, that project was in a spot that it should have been delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Buttoned up. You checked it. It's accurate.
Not half baked.
It's in a good state presentation wise. That's important. So, and I often speak with MBAs. I went to USC and got an MBA, and be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. Take classes you don't know. So my background was in finance. I worked for an investment bank, and my colleagues who went back to business school, they sometimes fell into the areas that they were uncomfortable with. When I went back to business school, I focused a lot of my efforts on data and analytics. I thought data and analytics was an opportunity for me to get my foot in the door in a sports team. And I was interested. I liked numbers. I was drawn to it. So
Well, that explains the whole team roster now. Then,
yeah, maybe
if that's what it's about.
I give other guys credit for the makeup of our roster, but maybe some of the financials behind it, I can take some support from.
Can you talk about the media play at all? I think this may not be your strategy. It may be several people's strategy, or maybe an MLS strategy. But like the media portion of it is fascinating to me, especially. I don't want to talk too much about that other player who plays for that team that wears pink, but the deal that Messi was able to do and like have similar to the way Beckham negotiated his deal, right? Where he got some team ownership, he got equity, he then leveraged that into, being able to purchase a team for a little bit less, and then there's all the media attached to that. Can you talk about the media opportunities that you see, maybe from your vantage point? Because to me, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know the details of how Miami landed Lionel Messi, and I'm sure there was a lot of layers to it. I think what's really interesting and maybe worth mentioning is the relationship that MLS has with Apple. Right, we have
talk about that because I don't know much about it.
Yeah, we have one of the greatest brands in the world, one of the most innovative brands in the world, broadcasting all of our games. We have them on our sleeve, and I think that's really impressive. You go to watch a soccer match, an MLS match, you go to Apple, and you can toggle over. You can watch any game in MLS at any given moment. That doesn't happen all the time in sports leagues and sports teams because there's regional rights and there's national rights. You can go any place in the world and you can watch the LA Galaxy play on Apple. Which is
they're investing in you and in the MLS.
But they're investing in it. I think that's a big part of the overall media strategy. But they're investing in MLS, and they got a huge reach. And it's great to be associated with a brand like Apple, everything about it. So that gives us a platform that if you're simply on a regional network, you don't have that pickup internationally or even domestically. So,
what are some of the other opportunities you see collaborating with Apple, at least on the media side? Are there other activations or other events beyond the stadium or even in the stadium that you can do that are not soccer game related?
I think the music we do. I think we call it Sounds of the Galaxy. I know I've been mentioning it as a DJ, but it's about Sounds of the Galaxy. That's what we label it as. And that's all been produced by our group in-house that is our own in-house agency called Galaxy Studios. And their job is to build our brand and innovate our brand. I think a partnership with Apple and in leveraging the stuff we're doing at Galaxy Studios in our DJ and Songs of the Galaxy would be a great connection. But, maybe talking a little bit too, going a little bit deeper, we're part of AEG. AEG is the leading sports entertainment company in the world, right? If you've been to a live event, you've probably been to an AEG event.
Right.
Whether it's Coachella, the music festival, or Stagecoach, which is widely successful, LA Kings, Crypto.com Arena, we have a ticketing company in Access, we have a hockey team in Germany, we have a sponsorship team that sells across these assets. AEG is a very special place to work. It's a very great place to work.
So you guys roll up under that AEG brand.
We do.
How much say do they have? Do they have their fingers in your soup, or are they pretty let you work autonomously, or?
Well, we have great leadership. So our CEO of AEG, Dan Beckerman, and I report up into him. We have great leadership. They come to every single one of our games. They care deeply about the club in the most positive way that an owner and a leadership group could care about the Galaxy. They give us support in every way that a sports team will want. And I think that's sometimes with the casual or avid sports fan overlook how successful a team can be because they have great ownership.
So it's just you and me talking. No one else is listening. What are the AEG bosses pressuring you for? I mean, is it about winning games, or is it fan experience, or is it what in terms of priority? Where are their heads at?
We want to be successful. And I think it depends. We want to be successful on the field, and we want to be successful in the business, because at the end of the day, you're investing someone else's money into a team, and you want to make sure that it's being done responsibly.
Yeah. Can you give me an idea? So the Galaxy Studios is interesting. In terms of the P&L, is it 80-20, 90-10, 50-50? How do you parse that out?
Give me a bit more.
I'm sure you have a total P&L. You have a budget.
Yep. How much do we invest in that budget to Galaxy Studios?
Yeah. So how much does that represent of your total nut? You've got a little bit to work with. It seems like you're investing in other things, like maybe a musical piece of it.
Yeah.
Is that like 5%, 20%?
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I don't know if I have an exact percentage. It's important to us that our brand and what Galaxy Studios is doing, whether it's on the graphic design side or whether it's on the video side, that it is, you look at it and you know, wow, they're better, they're different, the content's better.
Yeah, and let me give you some context of why I'm asking, because I'm thinking of the story I heard about Google, and I think Google still does it, but and it's even companies like these stories I've heard of 3M, you know, those people that just make
Everything,
whatever. But they encourage their people to, you know, spend 10 or 20% of their time and or, you know, energy and effort into thinking about innovation. And, you know, even if it's expending dollars or, again, you know, brain power or whatever, they're using 10 to 20% in experimentation, things that may not work.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was the context of me asking about the studios, because here you have this sort of what I would guess is this mainstay business. You're in the game of soccer. You're in the game of winning the MLS Cup. And, you know, some seasons you win and some seasons you don't. But you're also in the business of surprising, delighting, and entertaining guests. You know, I just was curious, what percentage of that are you putting towards experimentation? Also giving that same advice to other people who are thinking about, you know, don't just keep it the same every time. You've got to kind of go out of your cave a little bit and experiment.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I can tie a percentage to it, but that is the mission. Our job is to sell at the stadium. Every single game, we need 27,000 people in our stadium. And we're not against anything creative. We want to be creative, right? We want to do everything and think a little bit differently and push a little bit more than we would have pushed before. Whatever it is, we're open to it, right? I got a background as a finance guy, but I think I'm probably one of the bigger risk takers in the organization. So what is it that's going to push us a little bit more? What's going to challenge us and what's going to challenge the league to rethink, why are you doing it that way? And is that okay?
I mean, we were just sitting back, you know, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. You know, tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination. It's all about the journey.